Welcome to today's session of EC Made Easy. Today, we'll be talking on timeline. So when it comes to timeline, how does EC timeline differ from private timeline? Let me show you. When it comes to the 5% booking fee, that remains the same. Buyer will still need to sign their PDI and HDB forms, and developer will still issue the OTP on the same day. Next, after the OTP is issued, you as a tagger, you as an ICB, what you will need to do is to scan a copy to send to the banker or lawyer. When it comes to EC, where the difference comes in is in the HDB approval. So, HDB approval, after the OTP is issued, all the documents will be sent together to HDB for their evaluation. If HDB gives their green light, then buyer can proceed with their booking. However, if HDB does not give the approval, developer will need to refund the full 5% booking fee to the purchaser. However, if HDB gives the approval, but buyer decides not to proceed, then this will be similar to a private purchase where there will be a forfeiture of 1.25% of the purchase price from the buyer. So next, once HDB approval is granted, it will be the same 2-week, 3-week timeline as a private purchase. Within 2 weeks, the developer will need to issue the sales and purchase agreement to the buyer's law firm. Again, this is within 2 weeks. That means within as little as 3 days to perhaps 10 to 13 days, the sales and purchase agreement will already be sent to the buyer's law firm. So, once the sales and purchase agreement reaches the buyer's law firm, buyer will have 3 weeks to exercise the sales and purchase agreement. When they go to the lawyer's office, during that time, what they will also be doing, they will be signing forms for the release of CPF funds. They will also do the stamp duty payment. They will also need to do their legal fee payment, of course. Okay? So, this will be taking place in the 2 to 3 weeks following. And this one, there's a little bit of difference depending on how fast HDB approval comes in. If it is within 9 weeks, then what will happen is within 2 weeks from the sales and purchase exercise, buyer will also need to pay their buyer stamp duty. In this case, the 15% down payment will come later. However, let's say this stretches more than 9 weeks, then it could be payment of 15% down payment first, then followed by payment of buyer stamp duty. I will touch on this in the following slide. But in the meantime, once the buyer stamp duty is cleared, once the 15% down payment is cleared, then the following stages will happen. So, for buyers who need to come in with resale levy, in the past this was done upfront. Now, under the latest scheme, resale levy will come in only closer towards the TOP. So between 15% to TOP, if buyer takes normal payment scheme, they will come in at the following stages: foundation, concrete framework, and so on and so forth. Okay, if they are taking deferred payment scheme, then only at TOP, the 65% plus 15%, these will become payable based on the payment stage. Okay, so for this timeline, this will be if HDB approval comes fast and all this is within 9 weeks. Let's say, and this could be quite common as well, HDB approval takes a bit more time due to the volume. Then the timeline will be slightly different, because in this case, what remains the same? Booking day, all this will remain the same. HDB approval, this one will be stretched a bit longer, right? And because of that, right, what could happen instead is that when buyer meets the lawyer, they would do the 15% down payment, right? They would still prepare for the stamp duty. But in the disbursement by the lawyer still follows the 2-week timeline from exercise to buyer stamp duty. But in this case, 15% could be coming in before the buyer's stamp duty, which is still within 2 weeks. Okay? So later stages remain the same as well. 80%, right? If you are doing a normal payment scheme, as you go along, you pay. If you are doing a deferred payment scheme, after TOP, you pay. For the resale levy, just before TOP, you pay. Or rather, just before collecting keys, you pay. Okay? So this will be the timeline for EC for less than 9 weeks and more than 9 weeks. Okay? So it's onwards to quiz time. How long is the typical EC purchase timeline? Right? Depends. It can be around 9 weeks, but could take longer due to HDB approval. Next, if a buyer chooses not to proceed with booking after HDB approval is given, is there a penalty or forfeiture? Yes. If HDB approves case but buyer decides not to proceed, there will be a 1.25 of the purchase price forfeited. Next, when is buyer stamp duty due? Buyer stamp duty is due within 14 days of exercise. So we've come to the end of today's session of EC Made Easy. I trust this has been helpful for you.